Well, hello Anne, it's nice to see you again. I know we know each other, but I wonder for the sake of other people that are listening if you would mind introducing yourself and again, if you've no objection, telling us what age you are.
Yes, my name is Anne Macdonald and I am 56 years old.
I know you have a diagnosis of dementia.
Yes.
Have you an understanding of the form of dementia you have or the type of dementia?
Yes, I do. I have a very rare strain of dementia, which is posterior cortical atrophy. And what that really means is my brain has a problem processing what my eyes see. It's a very rare strain, but it tends to present in people in their early 50s.
Right. And because it's more unusual, was it more difficult to get a diagnosis?
You bet. Yes. It took 4 years for me to get a diagnosis. I first raised concerns about my eyes was one of the issues, and I took a list of things that I was aware of to my doctor, and I said, just read that and you'll get the gist of what I'm here about. And he read it and he said, well, if you can articulate like this, he says, I really don't think there is any problem. Because of my age, I was 51 then, it was really put down to stress. And I could understand that. But I was pinged over to the optician, back to the doctor, and back to the optician to get varifocals or not driving at night or different things. So there was things I tried to put in place to see if it would help, and it didn't. And then I had to go to hospital for something, and I then was in the system, and I was saying I was having problems with memory, so it was a neurologist I saw. So I didn't come through the normal process of being diagnosed. So this neurologist was interested enough to say we need to find out what is going on, because he'd taken me through some tests which I found quite difficult. But in saying that, I was stressed out because I knew there was something wrong, and for me it was really important that I knew what it was, and if possible stop it, if not see how we managed it, and that's what I'm doing. But I needed to have that because it could have been one of half a dozen conditions, because there was very subtle things. As I say, it could have been any condition, one of many conditions.
And was it your sight that you were mainly aware of and concerned about?
No, it wasn't so much. It's my eyes are healthy. It's things like light. I was seeing, if you imagine the traffic lights, when I was in the car driving, I could get the green light coming right down and into the car with me. Really? But I could also have the red one as well. And things like the wall just disintegrating, or I can only describe it as a ghosting, and something is kind of throw, and I would just kind of shake my head. So it was very, very difficult to explain what was going on.
Yes, because that doesn't sound like a normal visual problem.
Exactly. And the opticians have not got a clue on PCA. They really don't. And I personally think that is shocking, because they have a duty of care to be up to, skilled up to know what is going on. And PCA has been around for at least since 2010. That's it.
And now that you have this diagnosis, as you say, you have better understanding of exactly what's happening. What's the impact of it on your day-to-day life, Anne?
Well, having the diagnosis, I think it's important to understand that all I know about PCA is what I have researched online. And I think, again, that is shocking, that a consultant should be able to explain to you what it is, this particular strain you have. And I'm still me. I'm still doing everything, mostly, that I did before. Okay, it's in a different way now, or it takes longer, certainly, now, because I think people have to understand, with the diagnosis, there is definitely a kind of bereavement time, and then there's a coming to grips with it. You just think, right, well, that's it, that is it. But you just have to do things in a slightly different way, or and if I need help, I will ask. But on the whole, I'm quite able to do most things.
Is it possible to give us an example of how you've had to do things in a different way?
Well, I don't. I surrendered my driving licence because at home I can't always see things, and it's right there in front of me, and I can go out of the room and I can back in and, oh, there it is there, things like that. You can't really do that if you're in a car. So I felt I had a responsibility to myself and to my family and to everyone else on the roads to surrender my driving licence, and that's what I did. And believe you me, that was a big issue, because we live in the country, and it's 3 miles out of the village, and it's a single track road, and
really
all
big
sorts.
decision, yeah.
It was, and unfortunately my husband's semi-retired, and he's great at dropping me at the train station and things like that. And I have done the 3 mile walk up and down to the village as well. So there's that. But with a diagnosis, you lose a huge amount of confidence. And gaining that confidence again, I think slowly it comes, but you doubt so much. I think that's the only way I can say it. You don't, what you and I did automatically. I have to think about it much more, plan for it, and how do I get there? What do I do? All sorts of kind of things. So you just. I think there's always a kind of anxiety there about it.
And I know that you now belong to the Scottish Dementia Working Group. And I wondered how you got involved with the group in the first place.
It was when I had got in touch, when my the dementia expert told me that I had, he didn't even say I had PCA, but he said, you've got a degenerative condition. I didn't really need to be poked in the eye with that one. And I said to him, what about, what role are you going to have going forward? And he said, I don't have any. And I said, well, what support do I get? And he said, just scribble down a number. And that happened to be Alzheimer Scotland. And I phoned them because he told me nothing about what I had. And I spoke to Susan Rendell, and she just gave me a great big hug over the phone, which was fantastic. And she came out to see me a couple of days later, and I had been a volunteer in the NHS for 20 years, involved in all sorts of different pieces of work there, and she said, would you be interested in this? And I said, oh yes, I think this could be right up my street. Be good to get involved in something like that.
Now that you have been involved for a while, what does the group mean to you?
Well, I think for a start, being with other people who understand without you having to explain yourself, and it just was. I'm trying to think how I can say that. It was just very comforting. It really was. And I think it'd be fantastic if, somebody is diagnosed, they get in touch with somebody. Because what I felt was I was never given any hope. It was the usual kind of thing. Well, people look at people with dementia and it's care home dribbling and that sort of thing. And I just think that's not right. There are quite a few people, younger people, who have this condition, and we're all perfectly able to do many things.
How do you think, given that picture of the lack of understanding you've just painted there still about how people see dementia, how do you think Scotland can progress and become a more dementia-friendly society?
I think if we just respected each other. I see a lot of things that's out there in the name of dementia, and that is from people who don't have dementia. And so for me, I think it is just being nicer to each other. Everything that people know about dementia has come from the media. Now, they are not the best people. Not when you've got sensational headlines that are constantly coming out. And that's why I got involved in the Dementia Diaries, because that is giving the people with dementia a voice to get out to literally thousands and thousands of people.
Right. Can you just explain maybe a little bit about that?
Yes, Dementia Diaries, it was funded by Deep, and this is a little handheld phone. Right. It has one button, which is marvellous, and you just so say I go home today, I would say I had been interviewed, so I would do a report, and I would phone the line, the number, I would speak, it would say right, and there's kind of 5 different things you have to do: switch the phone on, hear the beep, and then start to say your report. So I would say I was interviewed today as to what it's like living with dementia and blah blah blah. That would be put onto a website, and I think there's 30 people who have been involved in the Dementia Diaries, and we all have a slot where I can go in and look at other people's reports and they can look at my reports, but other people can look at them. Anybody, you can go and look at them. So it's giving organisations an insight into, and I'll give you an example. BT had been looking at it, and they said, how could we get some information from people about, say, call centres and things like that? So I was asked, would I be interested in doing anything about call centres? I said, you bet. Just call centres and the pain of everybody's life. But it was really interesting reading all the other comments. Right. We were all saying exactly the same things about silent calls and everything like that. So, I would like to see through that we could get involved with these companies and be advisors and let them understand really what it's like.
It sounds like this is one way to help the general public.
Yes.
And organisations and companies understand.
Yeah, well, actually there was something on Twitter, somebody said, this is because it's some Dementia Diaries, they work with other organisations who are involved in media kind of things, and they got some feedback from them and said some people were saying this is just amazing to get this, so we need so much more of that.
If the general public understood more.
Yes, they said, now I understand this, that and the other.
Yes, fantastic. That's really, really helpful. Thank you very much, Anne.